Can
Come
you
on. Maybe on another episode.
come on, Dakota?
You don't even have to talk to me. Just come to the camera and make your argument.
Dakota, we're recording. We're waiting for you.
Oh yeah, are we gonna switch halfway through the podcast like you're gonna be it?
Come on, come make your point. So we had Dakota behind us, our intern. He's kind of an intern, and he made the argument yesterday that Kyle Busch was better than Dale Earnhardt. Not by much, but he said that he gave Kyle Busch the edge. So he actually lives in Kannapolis, North Carolina. And I told him that if he continued saying these things, I was going to have to like go on the Kannapolis, North Carolina Craigslist or something and let everyone know what was going on in their town. Like, hey, there's this guy, Dakota. He thinks Kyle Busch is better than Earnhardt. And I told him, like, you're going to drive home one day and there's just going to be like an angry mob in front of your house with pitchforks and torches. And you're just going to keep driving.
100%.
He's one of those kids that also thinks LeBron's better than Michael Jordan. And,
forget it. Now I changed my mind. He can't make his argument. I've lost respect.
Nope. I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
Before we get into one of the things that I have to talk about, hey, congratulations, top 5 finish, brother. I was proud of you. I was excited, way more excited than I probably should have been.
Yeah, that was all the team. We had we returned in P3 speed in practice on Friday, and I was hanging on to her though, and then one lap I hung on to her not so good, and we clipped the wall off of 4. So the boys had to. It was probably the best time for me to crash, just based on the allotment of time that ARCA was going to give us to fix it. Because if it was any other weekend, I don't think we would have had enough time to fix it as good as we did, or even close. But the officials with the ARCA East series, they let us hang around the garage past when we were probably supposed to be able to, and they let us keep piecing her together. And Andy Seiss's wife Jen came down with some parts and pieces, and we were it was all hands on deck. And of course I was over there too, because I crashed the darn thing, so I should be over there helping them fix it, right? So but big credit to my team.
Obviously, yeah, you qualified what? P3?
No, we practiced P3. The second day when I went out for practice, we it's kind of weird, right? So we made some adjustments to the car because obviously, we were turning some pretty good lap times, but the car was pretty loose. And I told them, like, man, if you could tighten this thing up a little bit, it'd go faster. So they went ahead and tightened it up for me, and it was slower. So basically came to the conclusion that I just need to drive the car loose and not crash is kind of what we came up with. So we didn't qualify great. Had a decent lap, but not a great lap. But qualifying trim is probably one place some of the bigger teams probably got a little bit of an edge on us because we spend more time in race trim. But it was one of those deals. We were right there on time, but we were kind of, everyone's running within a tenth or two, and we were kind of on the high side of it. So we started 12th, but right off the get go, we climbed right up to 7th. One of the guys on the bottom missed a shift, and we never really gave up any track position, especially in that first run. And the car was loose. It was I was going down the straightaway like this because I was white knuckling at the corners every lap. But that's how it was making speed. So it fired off pretty loose, but I had it kind of figured out and I had a good rhythm going. And we drove up to, I want to say 5th on the first run. I think we pitted 5th. So we got to the halfway break. The car started to get a little bit tight, so we actually freed it up a little bit. And on the second run, it didn't fire off good. Really struggled off of turn 4, which wasn't a spot that we had any trouble with, previously in the weekend. So what that was doing was really killing our overall speed because it was killing our front straightaway speed because I couldn't get back to the gas. I was just too loose off of 4. And we fell back to maybe 8th. And but the car, same thing, started to get a little bit tighter, and I was searching a little bit on the racetrack. The sun was going down, so the track was changing. And as the run went on, this is now the second half of the race. We started to reel guys back in, and we ended up climbing up to fifth. I was within striking distance of third, which is kind of, those are the guys that we were running with on the first run, and kind of the same deal. It was like an accordion. They took off and drove away, and then as the run went on, they kind of backed up to us, and both the first half and the second half, we finished within striking distance of the same cars we were kind of racing with. And so I think on a perfect day, we might have been third. The top two Gibbs cars were pretty checked out. Obviously they're pretty stout ones, but we think we learned a little bit. I think we probably over adjusted a little bit from Friday after the crash, but that car, that chassis Debbie, is a chassis that we struggled with the past few times we've had it out. So for it to show some good speed was definitely encouraging. And other than my little mistake there in practice where I clipped the wall and making a bunch of extra work, and that kind of set us back a little bit. But overall, it was a good team effort. The guys weren't too hard on me. They know I'm out there trying my best to make speed and get everything I can out of these cars. And thankfully, I try not to do that too often. But that was one where I clipped the apron and I kept my foot in it. I probably shouldn't have. So on the second day, we learned a little bit from that. But yeah, turn 2 in Rockingham, that's not a track you want to be too out of control in. So but we had a solid race. Didn't put a scratch in her. So we got a car here. We can got a few things to clean up a little bit, but overall she's in one piece.
So with that top 5 finish, we're headed to a track very well, Talladega this weekend. Cletus McFarland will be in the field this week. So this is going to be probably one of the most watched races of the entire ARCA season. So you have a bunch of casuals that are big Cletus McFarland fans out there watching. So they're going to see a really cool looking guy with a great mullet and glasses. I'm excited for that. There's going to be a whole bunch of people who's that guy? Like that's the wild boy that was climbing the fence at Rockingham. That video, the stuff that gets views on your social media is hilarious, because I'll feel like we've posted some great podcast clip and like this is going to do numbers, and then a video of you just climbing a fence and yelling at the truck does all kinds of numbers. I think people like you. I think they like you being you. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, we try to have a little bit of fun with it. I try to stand out with our social media, and it's not really a matter of trying to do anything. It's just allowing the world to, allowing the cameras to be on when most people would probably turn them off. It's kind of always been the way we approach social media, certainly on the Andy J Racing platform side. And Andy, Seiss, and Kevin are kind enough to let me have a little bit of fun with the KLAS side too. But, we always got to rein it in a little bit too, because it's their name on it. So I can't get too crazy. But no, I think it's good. I think, I think I have a personality. I think the entire team, it kind of reflects that personality, because we all kind of got here doing, kind of started with Andy J Racing. And, now obviously, Andy's kind of handling the day-to-day stuff of it. And then a lot of it is, his vision about who he wants a race team to be. And, we have this beautiful trailer, beautiful race cars, and Mike Dayton's preparing these awesome race cars, and giving Kevin a lot to be proud of as the team owner. But there's always little stuff too that, with the Andy J Racing side of it that we've never really shook. And, we're different, when the cameras are on, when the cameras are off. We host the most guests on race day. We try to be inclusive. We try to be fun. It's a lot of the guys on the team come from a short track racing background. These are guys that are donating their time, which is something you tend to see on a short track racing side. So, they want to come here and they want to win and they want to, do good and all that, but they want to have fun too. So it's important to, make it fun for those guys, because they're giving up their weekend for you, and all they really ask in return is to have a good experience. So that's certainly something that we've carried on all the way from the days of my dad racing and my uncle racing, and having fun on weekends. And it's got to be fun, otherwise why are we doing it?
So we're gonna have some fun. Not we, which I, for those that are watching, there will be content of Andy and I together at some point this season. That is happening. So, but no, I will not be in Talladega. I actually will be in Houston this weekend. Long story. It's hotter than hell down there. This time of year, I got told it was 90. We're still in sweatshirts in Oklahoma, so this is not going to be fun. General Tire 200 Talladega, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1 race. Talladega well. What are you looking forward to? You guys have got a little bit of some momentum here. Did really well at Rockingham, a track you haven't run before. And now you're going to a track you know a little bit. What are your expectations?
Well, the first goal is try not to, pound the car into anything in the first 3 laps, because that hasn't been something we've done a good job of in the past, like 3 or 4 super speedway races. There's usually an accident for us to find, and we do our job well. So I think the goal is probably just to keep the nose clean early on, and just like I said, that's continued to be the problem with the super speedway races. Is we brought these fast cars, and we go through the motions of qualifying and getting the car on the track and doing everything correctly, and then we get out there and somebody loses it in front of us, or something happens and we're stuck in the wrong line with nowhere to go. And I come into the pits and I ask Andy Seiss and Mike kindly to fix it, and they get their sawzall out and they booger the thing back together, and then we go back out and drive into the top 5. So if we could just eliminate that first part, I think we probably have a winning combination for sure. But we're bringing a new car this time. Hail Mary's gonna sit this one out. We're gonna go with Dennis the Menace, our Chevy. So Dennis the Menace is gonna get the nod for this one. We just got back from the chassis dyno, and that for a chassis dyno guy that looks at a lot of them, he said he basically said, like, don't fuck this up. This thing could win. So I said, I'll try not to let you down, bud. So we're going there with everything we need. It's going to come down to luck, and it's going to come down to a couple of decisions that you're going to make during the course of the race are going to change the entire deal. So we'll have TJ Majors up there, so we got good guidance from the top, and it's not going to be a race where we're going to get a chance to qualify. So we're going to line up by points again. So we're going to get shuffled somewhere around the middle of the pack again, kind of like Daytona. So, just going to have to tiptoe there early on and take what's given to us. Typically Talladega, you don't see as much calamity for whatever reason. A little bit wider surface, probably a little bit less nerves. I mean, it's still Talladega, but I think everyone, when you go to Daytona 500 weekend, you got the jets flying around and all that, and you're there for 3 days. I think by the time the race gets here, everyone gets pretty wound up. Not that they won't at Talladega, but it seems to be less of an issue at Talladega. But hopefully I don't eat my words on that. But it's going to come down to luck. I think there's so much that we can control. I think we have a good plan for what we can control, but it's going to come down to getting a couple breaks here and there. And, there's going to be a couple cars that are going to be really fast, and we're just going to have to put ourselves in the right positions to be able to beat them, and working with guys and see what we can do.
Excited. It's going to be a fun one. And like I said, you can watch that on FS1. So make sure you're doing that. Who's on the hood this week?
We're going to run Dax on the hood this week with Acacia Energy on the side. Wheelin's on board, so excited to always have Wheelin back. And then we have our traditionals. We have the Florida Safety Systems, Automotive Consultants of Ithaca, William Card. Buy a car. If you're in Ithaca, New York, you need a new car, call Bill. And Yukon Creek Sportsman Club, or yukoncreek.com, which is a charitable organization. We're also going to be running some stickers for Team Fox, the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And pretty excited. We also have a musician, Ryan Bronson's going to be on board this week. So we got another musician. So pretty excited about that. We're going to get some videos going, and it'll be cool.
Listen, we're hitting this lane, and I really like it. Where we like musicians on cars. This is like, hey, this is a cool thing, because there's not. Yep. I mean, these two things go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Yep.
I mean,
it'll be cool. we had Skylar last week, and Ryan's got quite a different genre of music, so it'll be a little bit of a different vibe. But we're gonna be pumping out some videos and have some fun with it. And he's gonna be on board for 3 races this year, so we're excited to have him. And so that's always a good deal.
All right. NASCAR Hall of Fame class of 2026 nominees. Have you seen the list?
I have not.
Some of our boys, my wife said she calls it when we get too nostalgic. She's like, you guys have a theme on this podcast. You'll get nostalgic like every other episode. I'm like, well, we're both like two nostalgic sports guys, and so yeah, it's just the way that it works.
Yeah, take me back to 1999, please.
Speaking of that, all right. So here's some of the guys nominated: Greg Biffle,
Cool.
Neil Bonnet,
Yep.
Tim Brewer,
Yep.
One of your favorites, Jeff Burton.
It's funny, actually. I got a story about him once we get through this.
Let's see here. Harry Gant,
Mr. September.
Mr. September, Jake Elder, Randy Dorton, engine builder.
Cool.
Kurt Busch. I didn't need to feel that old today. That Kurt Busch is.
Well, he's a series champion, so I mean he's gonna get in.
Let's see here. Banjo Matthews, Randy LaJoy. That's
Love it. Love it.
We go. Yeah.
Well,
Harry Hyde. Isn't this so
Yeah.
weird? We literally just talked about Harry Hyde just like a couple of weeks ago, and I look
Yeah,
at
they definitely got the crew chief thing going on this round for sure.
yeah, Ray Hendrick,
That's
Larry
cool.
Phillips.
Love the modified guys.
Yep, Larry Phillips, Jack Sprague, and Bob Wilburn.
Okay.
It's a good,
No,
good list.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's a good mix. I like seeing guys like Ray Hendrick on there that weren't necessarily cup drivers. Obviously, he's a modified guy, so I'm going to be partial to that for sure. But certainly Jack Sprague. Everything he did with the truck series for all those years, and then Randy LaJoy. His wins came in the Busch series, 2-time series champion. So I think Randy, deserves a lot of credit for innovations and pushing the safety meter up too. So I think I think you can make 2 arguments for Randy and his contributions to the sport. So certainly he's another one that's dedicated a lifetime to it, and certainly now with his kid racing, I'm sure put a lot towards his kid's career and everything there. So yeah, I think it's cool to see a good mix of it. Obviously, Kurt Busch is a series champion, and Greg Biffle was, one of the best guys going for 10, 12 years. So certainly he's going to be a guy that gets a nod, but cool to see a lot of the crew chiefs getting in there too. So that's pretty cool. And Jeff Burton was one of the few guys in the 90s, those late 90s area that we just can't help talking about. But he was one of the few guys that probably wasn't in that top tier that could really mix it up and go win races and get Jeff Gordon and Dale Jarrett them guys fits. So that's pretty cool. I got a funny story about Jeff Burton. So we get done with our ARCA race and we want to go watch we stuck around at Rockingham. Our car owner Kevin couldn't make it, so staying in his motorhome. So we're kind of relaxing a little bit. And Andy Seiss was there, and a couple of the crew guys were there. Dakota, our crew guy, our shop intern from NASCAR Tech, that thinks he's getting ready to throw something at me from the side here. Our shop intern from NASCAR Tech that thinks Kyle Busch is higher on the greatest ever list than Dale Earnhardt, which is a crime, and we all know that. But so anyway, I text Dakota. I'm like, hey, I found a really cool grandstand next to the motorhomes. Come on over. So he comes on over, and we were over there, and there's 3 people in this grandstand, right? 3 or 4. It was me, my girlfriend, and it was Dakota, and Jeff Burton had a radio on, and he's spotting for I'm sure Harrison or Jeff. I forget which ones, but I think Harrison's his son. So he's spotting for Harrison. I'm sure, at least on the radio for Harrison. This is like a giant grandstand, right? So it's me, my girlfriend Dakota, and then Jeff Burton, right? And 3 times, 3 different officials or track crew, whatever, came over. And they're like, hey, you can't be in this grandstand. You got to get out of this grandstand. I'm like, look, because we didn't have the hard card, because Xfinity guys had the hard card. We actually, I still have it on. We have the wristband for the ARCA guys. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm staying in this motorhome lot and I'm an ARCA driver. And then once I explained, like, oh, yeah, no, you're fine. And like, by the time the third different one came over, I'm like thinking in my head, like, this guy's going to come over like, hey, get the fuck out of Jeff Burton's grandstand. That's Jeff Burton's grandstand. You're not Jeff Burton. Like, there must have been 200 seats in this grandstand. There's 4 people in here. And like 3 track workers burdened themselves with driving the fucking golf cart over to come over and try to kick us out of this grandstand with like 50 laps to go in the Xfinity race. I'm like, what are we doing? Like go, leave me alone. Like, we're watching, like, I had to come down and talk to these guys, and we're right in the middle of 1 and 2 in the infield. So you can't hear a thing we're saying anywhere. So we're like screaming at these guys. No, I race ARCA. I know it's just ARCA, but just shit. Just let us watch the damn race. Like, God, it's been a long day. But so that's my Jeff Burton story. But it was funny because we walked up and I see him. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's Jeff Burton. And, you know, of course, Dakota, who thinks Kyle Busch is the greatest ever, you know, he had no idea who Jeff Burton was because, you know, he raced before, like, you know, 2010. And, yeah, it's just whatever. And my girlfriend only likes F1, so she had no idea who it was. So I'm sitting here like geeking. I'm like, oh my God, it's Jeff Burton. It's Jeff Burton. This is so cool. And they're both like, who the fuck's Jeff Burton? I'm just like, get out of here. I was going to throw him out of the grandstands. Like, what's wrong with you guys? Yeah, okay, no, Dakota's over here chirping. He didn't know who he was.
Dakota is quickly becoming a major character on this podcast.
Dakota's becoming a character for sure. I was just gonna walk over to him like, dude, like 1997 Southern 500, Chip Gordon goes the block. Why don't you keep your foot in the gas? Like, screw his $1 million.
Well, shout out Jeff Burton. Yeah, this list is pretty cool, and so excited to see who ends up making it. Here it is. Casey Kane relishes return to NASCAR competition after salvaging top 15 finish at Rockingham. That felt good. That feels good to have that Casey Kane is back. Am I the only one that the headline kind of made me smile a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's cool. You know, he certainly qualified well. It looked like I watched him at the start there. You got shuffled a little bit, but I mean, obviously he's in good equipment and he's running well, and he, you know, proved himself a very worthy driver over the years for sure. But definitely turned into a miserable day over there. But I don't know. That was that deal that ended up taking him out, that Catherine leg. That'll be honest. That whole thing kind of frustrates me. I don't understand the Catherine leg thing that's going on.
This is twice now.
I mean, it's not. You know, I get it. She's an accomplished race car driver, but NASCAR is different. Andy Seiss was just claiming this, you know, the other day. You know, you achieve these top speeds in road racing, but you know, you're slowing down and you get that chance to breathe. Like NASCAR, you are like, you know, it's hard. You know, I've raced every kind of car, and like it's hard to breathe in them cars. You're constantly on the edge. You're constantly at that high speed, experiencing that G-force, and it's just different. And I just don't understand why they're pushing her along so fast. I think, you know, it's not even fair to her, because you can see what's going on out there, that she's not qualified. She's not ready. You know, there's a lot of other drivers that, you know, could get opportunities that she's getting to be racing these cup races. And it kind of sucks for, you know, everyone that puts a lot into it and, you know, doesn't get that opportunity. But I think it sucks for Catherine too, because I think you could take a driver, you know, with her, obviously she has talent. So I think what she's working against is inexperience and not being prepared to race at these racetracks. But, you know, to be that far off the pace, you have to consider all that. But, you know, start out in ARCA, you know, in the ARCA series, you know, yeah, you know, you got 5 cars up front that are gonna, you know, race their nuts off like they do in Xfinity. But, you know, as you go further back through the pack, there's more cars going different speeds that you can kind of use to gain different experience. You know, the 30th place car in an Xfinity race is probably racing as hard as the 8th place car in an ARCA race. You know, there's no break in the Xfinity thing. Like, they're all good cars, you know, where with the ARCA thing, there's, you know, you kind of broken up into different tiers where, you know, you can race with people that, you know, aren't going to carve you up with side drafting, and, and rough you up every other lap and gain experience. And I think there's a case to be made with a lot of these drivers that either have sponsorship or whatever opportunities await them at the higher levels that would be more successful if they spent more time at the more like an ARCA level, just gaining experience and getting more comfortable with these cars, because it's a lot. It's like nothing else I've ever done. It's hard every time I do it. It's a very challenging thing, and I think from Captain's perspective, and I think from obviously it's in the Cup race it affected took out Daniel Suarez, and in this one it screwed up Casey Kane's day. And you could make a case for William Sawalich. I watched the onboard there. It probably, it's tough to come up on a car that fast when you're not expecting it. So I think there's a lot of fault that could be said there. I think he probably could have, anticipated that a little bit more, and knowing that she is an experienced driver, and kind of kept himself out of trouble there. So there's a case to be made that Sawalich made a mistake there too, for sure. But certainly having a car out there that's going that much of a different speed makes things complicated and eventually makes problems.
Yep. All right. So one more time, Talladega this weekend, FS1, 12:30. So whatever you're doing this weekend, you got a great weekend of racing with all the classes at a historic racetrack. One of those, like, Daytona may be the like crown jewel of the sport. Talladega is like that's the one you think of when you're like, this is a real race car. This is a real racetrack. This is a diehard historical racetrack. So kind of cool. Rockingham and Talladega back to back. That's a good that's a fun little couple of weeks here.
Oh yeah, no, I love every track that we go to. It's all a blessing, and it's all fun, and every track has its own deal. But the Rockingham race, that was one of the coolest races that I didn't expect, just because it was it wasn't a Fox race, and I didn't really know if it was going to get all the hype, but just being there and seeing all those cars back there at that racetrack, it kind of had like a short track feel to it. You walk to your motorhome, walk to the car, you drive in and out of the track, just, it felt like we were at like a big short track race, and just seeing the grandstands were full, and on all the Xfinity cars out there, and it was great racing all weekend. And, the track was so much fun to drive, and that was one of the coolest atmospheres I've gotten to be a part of. And now we're going to shift here to Talladega, and it's going to be, the largest racetrack in, United States. And, it's just going to be, it's always so cool going there. People get so excited about that deal, and there's going to be parties. And our plan is to go there. We're going to run well. If we get the trophy, we're going to take it out on Talladega Boulevard, and we're not going to stop until Dakota pukes.
There we go. All right. Wish the team good luck for me, and we'll be watching this weekend, brother.
Got it. Thank you.